Greetings and welcome to module M1.1 Why Science Communication. Let me begin with the quote of Sir Mark Wolpert, who is a renowned British medical doctor, neuroscientist, and engineer who has made an important contribution in computational biology. Science isn't finished until it is communicated. Science will accomplish nothing if scientists cannot communicate their research and findings. We would not have known Darwin's name if he did not, 2 decades after collecting and analyzing his data, finally publish his manuscript on the origin of species. So, friends, why is writing important in science? It is not enough to simply have an idea or discover something. Credit for the findings will go to the person who first published the work. That is what motivated Darwin more than 20 years after his data collection voyage when he received a letter from another naturalist, Alfred Wallace, who had made similar discoveries and was developing a theory of natural selection. It is said Darwin went into a writing frenzy and finished 250,000 words within 1 year. The well known mathematician Robert Clifford Gunning, who was a professor at Princeton University, has mentioned in his very famous book, The Technique of Clear Writing, and I quote, "Writing is an art, but when it is writing to inform, it comes close to being a science as well." Scientific writing is different than creative writing, although both can be improved by storytelling. Writing for science requires clarity since the goal is to explain new discoveries or concepts. I would request you to pause here and answer to my question: what did you do over the last holidays that you had? Thank you for getting the thinking process started. I'm sure many of you must have first thought about which holiday you want to describe. Is it the last weekend holiday, or the Christmas break, or the summer break? I'm sure you would be able to give me many details about this holiday without much struggle. So, the question is, do you struggle to explain to someone or your family what you did over the holidays? The answer most certainly is no. However, communication of science to the general public is a challenge. We must also realize that it is also one of the most important forms of scientific communication. Let me now narrate one of the unfortunate chapters in the history of science communication. The case of Dr. Subhas Mukherjee, the Indian medical scientist who created the world's second and India's first test tube baby using in vitro fertilization. This needs a special mention here in the context of how science communication plays a role in the social paradigm. With the successful effort of Dr. Subhas Mukherjee and his team of doctors, the test tube baby Kanupriya Agarwal, also called Durga, was born in 1978, just 67 days after the first IVF baby, Louise Brown, was born in United Kingdom by the British physicians Patrick Steptoe and Robert Edward. Dr. Edwards was awarded the 2010 Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine for the development of in vitro fertilization. However, the scenario was very different and difficult for Dr. Subhas Mukherjee. He was harassed by the then West Bengal state government and Indian government and was not allowed to share his achievements with the international scientific community. Therefore, his research work never reached the world around. Dejected, he committed suicide on 19 June 1981. Much later, after his death in 1986, Harshavardhan Reddy Buri was declared the first human test tube baby of India. The credit for this achievement went to Dr. T.C. Anand Kumar, director of IRR, which is ICMR of today. Later on, in 1997, Dr. Anand Kumar got access to the research documents of Dr. Mukherjee's IVF experiments that had never got published. And after scrutinizing and having discussions with Durga's parents, he became certain that it was in fact Dr. Mukherjee who was the architect of first human test tube baby in India. On Dr. T.C. Anand Kumar's initiative, Dr. Subhas Mukherjee was mentioned as the architect of the first Indian test tube baby in a document related to the subject of artificial intercourse in ICMR. Dr. Mukherjee's contribution to science was then recognized internationally by including his name in the Dictionary of Medical Biography published by World Foundation that enlists the names of thousands of medical scientists from over 100 countries around the world for their path-breaking contributions to the medical science. Such is the power of scientific research communication. Within a scientific community, it is important that the research is communicated to get the newer and wider perspectives on their research work done. At its best, science communication can empower research and innovation systems to address global challenges by improving the relationships with stakeholders in policy, industry, and civil society. Science communication can put public interest at the heart of how knowledge is produced, shared, and applied today, thereby enhancing the benefits of science and technology and mitigating their limitations or risks. Moreover, effective science communication can facilitate the role of research and innovation in developing a more sustainable world. Hence, it is imperative that science communication plays its mediating role effectively. Therefore, in practice, evidence based science communication should combine professional expertise and skills with the best available evidence from systematic research. Steps required to achieve this outcome include more quality assurance in science communication research, significant changes in teaching and training, and improved interfaces between science communication research and practice. There are numerous indicators of such professional expertise in science communication, including applying social science research and theory when designing science communication activities to avoid well known pitfalls and improve the odds of success. Planning, developing, and applying objectives in a logical way to address the needs of specific stakeholders and audiences. Following good ethical principles, including informed consent for participation and responsible data protection and management, being open and transparent about the nature of funding, organizations involved, and influences on the design of science communication activities, ensuring that appropriate and relevant communication skills are developed and applied for a given science communication challenge. It is also important for being inclusive and welcoming of those who are often marginalized or excluded, both in the development and delivery of science communication activities. Willingness and capability to reflect on limitations in one's own communication objectives and strategies despite institutional constraints and agendas, even if this may invalidate previously accepted practices. Committing to continually improved practice-based ongoing collection and analysis of evaluation of evidence is also very important. Being learning oriented, focusing on continual professional improvement and sharing of new findings to aid others, working to make any given science communication activity as resource efficient as possible to ensure that opportunities for positive impact are not squandered. The various modes of scientific research communication include scientific papers, MSc or PhD theses, research reports, and teaching. These are the very traditional scientific research communication modes. But along with these, we also have research seminars, poster presentations, oral presentations, group meeting presentations, abstracts, and essays also working towards this process. However, the other subtle processes like research proposals, scholarship applications, cover letters, and resumes are also a part of scientific research communication. Thus, writing is an integral part of science at every stage. It is how we outline a project idea, communicate it with collaborators, draft a grant application, synthesize our insights into a manuscript, and share science beyond academia. Yet, when training students to be scientists, we often focus exclusively on the scientific method and the work of data collection. We rarely talk about the equally important topic of writing about science. When we do discuss about the writing with students, trainees, peers, we emphasize more on the mechanics, that is, how to structure a manuscript, what is the style of scientific writing, how we should put the citations, and the submission process. As a scientific community, we rarely talk about the equally important topic of writing about science. When we do discuss writing with students, trainees, and peers, we emphasize the mechanics, how to structure a manuscript, the style convention of the scientific writing, the citations, and the submission process. As a scientific community, we rarely discuss the actual act of scientific writing itself. Unfortunately, the writer's block that plagues most of the academics has actually nothing to do with the manuscript structure or style conventions. Even when we have a detailed outline, we know what we want to say, we have the citations bookmarked, we often therefore struggle to turn the outline into a full draft. So, friends, why is the act of scientific writing difficult is the very point of discussion in this module. And in the following module, we could try and understand simple strategies for developing the skill of scientific writing for various modes of scientific research communication. By understanding how we find writing difficult, why we find it difficult, we can begin to test different practices that might increase our writing output and help us to get out of this dreaded writer's block. All of us, when we are writing about our manuscript or dissertation, we are all at the edge of our collective knowledge, meaning it is difficult for us to write about something that no one has ever before been where you have been in the realm of the knowledge. Hopefully, no one has ever explored these data in precisely the way you have. That is generally the point of research publication, to add new knowledge to what is already known. Similarly, when writing a grant proposal, you are trying to imagine what might lie beyond our knowledge boundary and determine a path to getting there without much knowledge of what lies ahead. Additionally, writing up your research finding for publication can be scary because it signifies the project's readiness to take the next step, to move from data collection and analysis to preparation for sharing it with the wider community. Doing so opens you up to criticism by the scientific community and the possibility that you may need to return to the stage of data collection for additional information. So, friends, by understanding why we find writing difficult, we can begin to test different practices that might increase our writing output. This process of understanding and overcoming obstacles to writing for academic scientists of all career levels can increase scholarly output, boost career prospects, and ultimately advance scientific knowledge. I would like to mention the quote of Carl Sagan here, which would aptly summarize the discussion done in this module, and I quote: we can judge our progress by the courage of our questions and the depth of our answers, our willingness to embrace what is true rather than what feels good. Thank you for completing the module M1.1.